Well, hello, my dear friends. Justyn Smith here, and I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Today, we are looking at 2 Samuel chapter 4 with this topic entitled, Doing Evil to Do Good. Doing Evil to Do Good. And you could probably understand right from the understanding of the title that this is not going to be a good thing. Doing evil to do good. And you're exactly right. We are going to see a story in the scriptures here where two men decide they're going to take somebody out, thinking it is going to please David. Specifically, the one that they are going to take out is one of Saul's sons, Ishbosheth. And as they take him out, they're going to bring his head to David and be like, yeah, okay, we're going to win some favor with David. But David is pretty much going to respond with, it's never right to do evil to do good. My name is Justyn Smith with the Heart for Revival Ministries, a heartforrevival.com. We are very, very blessed to have this opportunity to serve the Lord to this capacity. If you'd like to find out more about us, you can visit us online at a heartforrevival.com. We would absolutely love it if you'd take some time to check out our website. Now, as we consider the topic, doing evil to do good, again, we are going to recognize that it is never right to do evil, to have the end be something that is good. Okay. Number one, deception played a huge role in their success. And so from the very beginning, from the very beginning of this little lesson today is deception. And deception doesn't get anybody anywhere except for deceiving themselves as well. Hey, if you deceive and make it a practice to deceive others, eventually you are going to reap what you sow and you are going to be deceived. Destruction is always at the end of sin. You cannot sin and expect good to come from it. Notice where the deception plays in verse number 6 of 2 Samuel 4. They came thither into the midst of the house, as though they would have fetched wheat. So that is why it looked like they were coming into the house to get wheat. They smote him under the fifth rib, and Rechab and Baanah, his brother, escaped. And so as we read those verses, we read that deception was their plan. We are going to feign ourselves. We're going to fake it. We're going to portray ourselves as people who are going to get wheat in the house just like any other time. And then we're going to take life. Okay, that's what our plan is. That is what we are going to do. So we see that deception played a huge role in their quote-unquote success. They fulfilled their mission. Their mission was to take life. They thought it was for a good cause. Number two, they exerted amazing amounts of energy to get away with their evil doings. And isn't that just like us? I mean, really, let's be honest, okay? If we have a situation where we feel like we need to get out of this, okay, or we need to fulfill this particular thing, and it might be something that is done in the wrong way, we spend and exert amazing amounts of energy to get away with something that is wrong, because we have to, think more about it. We have to plan more intricately, and by design, we have to put a lot of effort into something that is so wrong and so wicked. We read this in verse 7, for when they came into the house, he lay on his bed in his chamber, and they smote him and slew him and beheaded him and took his head and gat them away through the plain all night. And really where the point of ours focuses on is not just the killing of another person, but at the end of that, they went through the plain all night. And as they went through the plain all night, they are spending and expending. They are exhausting themselves to get away with what they have done. Okay, so they're going through the plain all night. Listen, my dear friend, to do something evil in hopes of doing something good is wrong from the very beginning. And if you have to deceive, if you have to run from certain situations, if you have to hide what it is that you have done from other people, it is wrong. And of course, they are sneaking onto somebody else's property. They are cutting the head off of one that they presume to be David's enemy. And no doubt he could be an enemy to David, but yet we love how David responds in this passage. It is a phenomenal story. It leads us to point number 3. They presumed they'd be rewarded rewarded for doing this. Okay, therefore their perspective was wrong. Okay, hey, let's do something. Let's go kill this man, because we believe that he is the enemy to David, and maybe it's been expressed that way, and maybe it's been understood on a great scale, and you know what? Nobody else is doing anything about it. I believe we will be rewarded if we go take him out. And so they devised this plan. They run all night. Then they thought, we're going to be rewarded. Let's go before our king. Read these verses with me. Notice what it says as you open up the scriptures with me. You are going to recognize that that is not exactly what happens. What happens is everything went in the wrong direction. Notice the verse number 8. They brought the head of Ishbosheth unto David to Hebron, and said unto the king, Behold, the head of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, thine enemy, which sought thy life. And and the Lord hath avenged my lord the king this day of Saul and his seed. So as you read that verse, what you find is we presume we're going to be rewarded for killing Ishbosheth. What do you recall to your mind about David and Saul's relationship already? Okay, David and Saul, they had a unique relationship where Saul sought David's life. But Saul ended up having his life preserved on a couple different occasions by David, because David's like, I'm not going to touch the Lord's anointed. And there was this understanding that David at one point is going to be good and kind to the house of Saul. Okay, and so if you knew that, you would understand it is not right to do this evil to expect good. But they're kind of coming in like, we got something to tell you. We did something for you, David. And oh man, it was mostly, no, we both did it, like that kind of thing. And here's what we did. Here's the head of Ishbosheth, your enemy, Saul's son. Well, that leads to something. It leads to point number 4. David wasn't happy. David wasn't happy. Notice the scriptures, verse 9, 10, and 11. David answered Rechab and Baanah his brother, the sons of Rimmon the Beerothite, and said unto them, As the Lord liveth, who hath redeemed my soul out of all adversity. He's saying, I've come this far by the grace of God and mercy of God. When one told me, saying, Saul is dead, thinking to have brought good tidings, I took hold of him and slew him in Ziklag, who thought that I would have given him a reward for his tidings. Okay, so you can recount that story, go back and look over it. But in verse number 11, David's recalling it to these two brothers who thought they had just done something good for their king. How much more when wicked men have slain a righteous person in his own house upon his bed? Shall I not therefore now require his blood of your hand and take you away from the earth? Uh-oh. This is not going the way the brothers planned. This isn't going the way that they thought it would. And in fact, David is calling out the people in the story in a different light than the two brothers thought. Okay? David calls the two brothers wicked. David calls Ishbosheth, Saul's son, righteous. David states that he wasn't doing anything to pursue me. He was asleep on his own bed, and you walked in and took his life. That is wrong. The king isn't happy. And they're like, uh-oh, this isn't good. David killed a man for less, and we've done more. Of course, our lives are to be taken. They understood. Number 5, they were destroyed, thinking they could do evil to do good. Well, let's read the verse, and then I'll make a parallel here. Verse number 12, And David commanded his young men, and they slew them, the brothers, cut off their hands and their feet, and hanged them over the pool in Hebron. But they took the head of Ishbosheth and buried it in the sepulchre of Abner in Hebron. So they were very respectful to Saul's son, who had just lost his life at the hand of evil men who thought that they could do evil to do good. Listen, again, the parallel that we're making here is that you will deceive yourself into thinking, I can do evil to bring about something good. And ultimately, that deception is going to bring destruction into your life. And this example is seen in these two brothers who thought that they were okay doing what they were doing to please their king. It does matter what you do, how you do it, why you do it. And as you consider the fact that taking life is wrong, they were, in essence, committing one of the 10 Commandments. They were, living against what God created. And David, with a heart after God, yes, a man of war. Yes, somebody who's killed men in battle as the enemy. But you must recognize that Saul and his house were considered righteous by David. This is part of the anointed, and we are going to respect that. And this man's doing nothing but sleeping in his house. You've committed murder. You've taken his life. Now, again, David is going to face some things. David's going to make some decisions in the future. You must recognize the mercy and grace of God. You look at your life, you know you've done evil, you know you've done wrong, you apologize, you confess, you make it right. You see God, that His forgiveness is true, His forgiveness is real, and you run to Him. You run away from that sin. You run away from your decision against God. You see to it that you have a clean slate. It's never right to do evil, to do good. And we need to allow that to be stamped in our minds, on our hearts, on our life. Let's be people of integrity. Let's be people of honesty. Let's be people of purity who truly live loving others and loving God. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for making it a point to join us. I pray that you'll join us again next time. We love you. Have a wonderful day.